Tēnā koutou katoa. Haere mai ki te kuritini o Waikato, ko David Christensen tōku ingoa, ko ahau te tomo ake a te kuritini nei. It's my simple pleasure today to simply do the housekeeping before I invite Tame Pokai our kamātua up for a mihi. So just to clear that away, in the event of an emergency, do follow the instructions of the Wintex venue staff. They will make themselves known to you. In the case of an evacuation, please exit the atrium through the first exits on the left-hand side, and we'll wait out over there. Both men's and women's bathrooms, should you need them, are just through that brown wall just there, out the back. We are a non-smoking campus, probably doesn't need to be said, but given we've also got the Health Minister here today, let's thrash that one. We're a non-smoking campus, located directly behind you and through the foyer. Police are just around the back if we catch anyone. And any other questions or concerns, just please raise your hand, speak to the Wintex venue. Otherwise, without any further ado, I'll ask Tame Pokai, our kaumātua, to come up for his mihi and welcome. Kia ora.
Thank you, Dave. Kia hāpai ngā kupu tuatahi ki te tāhuhu matapū. E koe te tui, e kete te kākā, kuku te kereru, mō te ngākau. E pupuru te kiingi I te tehi kiwai o te kete. E pupuru te maungo taranaki I te tehi kiwai o te kete. Kia hora tamarino, kia whakapapapau namu te moana, kia tere te kārohi I rungi I te tangata. Kia hikoe ia I rungi ngā tongikura, hei pupuru ki te mana, hei pupuru ki te wehi, hei pupuru ki te tapu, hei pupuru ki ngā whenua, o rātau mā, ko mene ki te pō. Ki te honga, ko ngaro I te tirohanga kanohi, ngā mate kei tēnā marae, kei tēnā papakainga, kei tēnā whenua, huri no I te ao. Whāreki hia I rote I te kauhanga nui o tēnei o ngā wāhi e ki ai te kōpū mānia o kirikiri roa. Kia ki ai te kōrero hoki atu koutou ki Hawaii ki nui, Hawaii ki roa, Hawaii ki pāmamao. Hoki atu, hei karupi I atata mō matariki. Moi mai I roti I te ariki. Koutou e huitahi nei, koutou e whakarongo e titiro mai I ngā hangarau o tēnei ao. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Tēnei te wako o tainui e mihi nei ki a koutou whānui. Tēnei te awa o Waikato e mihi nei ki a koutou, tēnei te maunga o Taupiri e mihi nei ki a koutou. Tēnei ngā tapu wai o Ngāti Wairere, te kōpū mānia o Kirikiro e mihi nei ki a koutou. Hara mai, hara mai, hara mai I rungi te reo karanga o tēnei kaupapa. Hara mai hei huitahi, hei whakarongo ki ngā kōrero, ka whakatakoto I roto I tēnei o tō tātou whare. Tēnei te mihi atu ki te minita Chris, ko tae mai ki te riu o Waikato. Hei kanohi mo te whare mere, kānui te aroha te mihi atu ki a koe e te rangatira. Ko hara mai hei whakatakoto I te tehi kupu, E tehi ingoa mo tō tātou nei kura mo Aotearoa whānui. Ka hoki au ku whakaro ki te tehi kuia e kaha nei te whakatakoto kupu. Engari ko ngā kupu I whakatakoto I te wā e hiko e ana I te mata o te whenua, ka whakainguatia ngā wāhi, te perongi a te aroaro o kahu, te manga wairoa o kahu, te aroha o kahu, ngā ingua katoa I rote I te reo, ki te kora te tangata e mōhio te reo, kāre e mōhio ki te tuapapa o te rā wāhi, o te rā rohe, hori noa I Aotearoa. No re rānei te mihi atu ki a koutou, me waiho taku taha pōti ki te taha mo tēnei wā. Engari ko te aroha te mea nui. Nō reira tēnā koutou Murray, ka nui te mihi atu kia koe tīpene hoki o te poari e whakahaere i te kaupapa mai te whare mere tēnei te mihi atu kia koutou Jamie, e ka nui te mihi atu kia koe hoki e koutou e mahi mō te hāpori o Aotearoa. Tēnei mautere iti rawa, engari kia kaha ki te whakatakoto he huarahi mō te katoa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. What a special day that we are gathered here today. What a special day, and I just said in my kōrero about this lady that trampled or trekked the valleys from Kawhia across Waikato, across this area. And because you're the first in that domain, you have the privilege of naming certain places. And if you know the language, the beautiful narrative behind those words. Today, it's not so much a kuia that's trekking the landscape, but it's the minister. He's going to trek this landscape that she walked in many years ago, and he's going to put a name down as well. We're going to hear very shortly today. So, Minister, welcome to you. Welcome to the Waikato Valley on behalf of the people of Tainui Waka, the Kuratini of Waikato, and the little trees and the kauri trees. Never just talk about the kauri trees and the tōtara, the little trees, because without the little trees, you don't have prime ministers, you don't have kings. So the little people are listening as well. Nō reira, huri noa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. He tāku a te pupu ake nei, te mauri o te aroha. He horonga ki te iwi kua whakangaro, ki te pō uri, ki te pō kei ngā whakaoati herea ki te rangi hei huarahi atu tihe mauri orai. I'm just going to not poach, but just crop a couple of words out of that weata. Kei ngā whakawāti I herea ki te rangi. There are proverbial sayings that join to the heavens. They are part of the closing lyrics of that song. And we want to join that to that special place that you cannot see, but it's part of one of the wings of the bird that flies. You must fly with that wairua wing and the physical wing, and then the bird can land. The bird has landed. Let's have a great morning, a great afternoon. Tēnā koutou, ka heke. Murray.
A ti hei Māori ora, te whare e tūnei tēnā kōrua. E te tangata whenua nā iwi, o tēnā takiwā no Tainui Waka, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Nā mihi hoki ki te kingitanga, ko kingi tuheiti e te tangata, no rā ka mihi, ka mihi. I nā kao matua, I nā kuia, tēnā koutou. E te minita Chris, tēnā koe, koutou katoa e hui nei, kia tautoko tēnei nā rui, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora everybody and good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be back here and on behalf of the NZIST Council with my colleague Tanya Hodges, to Michael Crawford and the Chair and Board of Wintec, and to Dave Christensen and your team, thank you for assisting us in preparing for today. Waikato was the land of 100 chiefs. Waikato tani wharu, he piku hi tani wha, he piku hi tani wha. And thank you to our Tainui dignitaries as well. I acknowledge your tautoko and your support. And Tamai, a special thank you to you as always for your kind words of introduction and your mihi whakatau. Minister Hipkins, good afternoon. It's nice to see you. And welcome to NZIST's home in Kirikiriroa. And it's also a pleasure to welcome those of you who are joining us from across the network of subsidiaries and the transitional ITOs right across the country who are watching this on YouTube this afternoon. So good afternoon to all of you. That includes folks from the MOE, and we're joined today by the TEC, Gillian and Paula, good afternoon, and some other familiar friends and faces in the audience. Jamie Strange, good afternoon, welcome, thank you for joining us. And James Brodie, the President of the Wintex Student Association, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us as well. That's my simple word of introduction. I'll speak to you again shortly, but it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Minister for Education, Chris Hipkins. Chris, good afternoon.
Ena mana, ena reo, ena rauranga tirama, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora everybody, it is fantastic to be with you today to mark what is a significant milestone on this particular journey that we began about 18 months ago now. When we became the government, and it's actually probably slightly longer than that now even, time flies when you're having fun, but when we became the government, we inherited a vocational education system that over about 20 or 30 years had developed a few challenges. And it would be fair to say that it was certainly straining at the edges, and I think everybody is aware of the challenges that the ITP sector in particular faced, but actually vocational education wasn't where we needed it to be as a country. We saw vocational education systemically and systematically undervalued, and we needed to lift it back up again. We needed to put it back as pride of place, one of the key taonga of our education system. And that's what the reforms of vocational education have been all about. We had a system that was driving the wrong kind of behaviour. 16 ITPs, Polytechs, Institutes of Technology, being encouraged to compete with one another rather than to collaborate to get the very best educational outcomes possible. We had a parallel system around industry training or on-job training that was creating a boom and bust cycle depending on where the economy was. So we knew that the ITOs would do very well when the economy was strong and employment was high, and that they would struggle when the economy turned down. The Polytech system would do well when the economy had turned down and there was more demand for off-the-job training, but would really struggle in an environment of high employment. And what we know now, and the most recent events of the last sort of 12 months or so have really highlighted this, what we really need is a system that works hand in glove, where it doesn't matter where the economy is at, whether it's learning on the job or learning off the job. We're learning in a way that's connected, in a way that's providing the sorts of skills that New Zealanders are going to need to be able to thrive in the future. And that's what the reform of vocational education is designed to achieve. So before I talk about the institution that we are here today to officially launch, although there's already a lot of work that's been taking place, I want to talk about a few of the other aspects of the reform. So the establishment of workforce development councils will help us to ensure that we're meeting the skill needs that we have, that the education and training that's being delivered is meeting the needs of employers both now and in the future, so that we're setting people up to succeed in the workforce. Regional skills leadership groups, making sure that wherever you are in the country, that we're meeting the needs of local communities when it comes to skills, when it comes to education, when it comes to training. Centres of vocational excellence, recognising that we can push harder and faster, we can be the best in areas of vocational education if we really focus our energy and our attention on it. To taumata aranui, a recognition that we need to partner much better with our Māori communities if we're going to deliver the types of educational outcomes that are going to meet Māori aspirations now and in the future. And of course, most importantly, a new integrated funding model, because the funding system has been driving the wrong kinds of behaviour, and we need to fix that. Inherent in all of these things is one common critical factor, and that is people. The education system can be structured in any way you choose, but actually it's the people that generate the educational outcomes that we're looking for. So the reform process has to be about creating the right environment for people to flourish, and I firmly believe that that's what we're doing. The establishment of a new unified network of provision is the centrepiece of the reforms of vocational education and training, and that's what we're here to talk about today. With the working name, the New Zealand Institute of Skills and Technology, we're pulling together the country's largest tertiary education provider. It's a completely new organisation that will take responsibility for supporting all types of learning, on campus, on the job, online, and through other learning methods that we might not yet have discovered. That will ultimately have a national and a regional reach to become a long-term skills training partner for firms and for industries, that will enable learners to move between workplaces, other educational offerings, other geographical locations as their needs change. Learning that works around people rather than people having to organise their lives around learning. So I want to thank all of those who have played a role in getting us to this point. All of those of you who are here in the room today, the leadership team who have helped to pull all this together, but also those who are tuning in via the live stream around the country, those working in our industry training organisations and our polytechs and institutes of technology up and down the country who are going to breathe life into the vision that we've articulated. So we have a new direction. We have a new organisation that's going to lead those directions, and we need a name that merits the mana that it is being infused with. It's a unifying name, but like the institution, it's one that represents many strands and ideas. It highlights the organisation's commitment to partnership under Te Treaty, and it reflects the important role the organisation will play for Māori. Its visual identity too reflects the strength that can be delivered by weaving together providers and educators, learners, employers, industry, Māori, iwi and communities. It's a name that's chosen to reflect the status of the organisation as a single, unified, national provider. I'm proud to present you with the new name, Te Pukenga, the New Zealand Institute of Skills and Technology. Like I said, this is only the start of the journey, but it's a very significant milestone for everybody involved, and I'd like to thank you all for helping us get to this point. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you.
Nau mai, nau ake, ka roi I toke te aronui. Hei amonga mōhau ki te pūtake o te wānanga. Whakare wai ara ki runga I te pakihiwi. He hikitanga, he hapainga, he amonga, he arewa, he tauira. Ka roko te pō, ka roko te ao, ka huakina ki te ao mārama. Hei tohu tātai kura tāngata e mauri ora.
Guide and support my journey in a way that builds my mana and capability as a person, helping me find and become what really matters to me. The path that lets me become my strongest, most passionate self. A shift from learning that I have to fit my life around, to learning that fits around me and my world. Changing the conversation from what I'm studying and where I'm studying, to ways of learning more in tune with where the world is heading. From practical learning, head and hands, to purposeful learning, head, hands and heart.
Like the heart of the harakeke, our strength comes from many threads. Unique qualities and skills. Diverse people and perspectives. We draw from our collective strength to lift each other up, growing and flourishing together, creating real value for people, recognising the values of our people. For the makers, shapers, solvers, creators, for the good of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Te Pukenga. Learn with purpose. He mai reo ka Pukengatia.
Ka te rohia ki te rā momo harakeke I rungi I tō koutou tēpu. Te rohia ki te momo harakeke I rungi I tō koutou tēpu ka mōhi o tēnei te raranga I ngā pukinga o tēnā kura hei kotahi. Koe nei te tehi o ngā taonga o te ao tawhito me tēnei ao. When we look at weaving or joining together in lots of different strands that bring us together, it's like that on your table there you have a mat that's weaved or you have that weaves together, which brings a lot of different skills. You've got to have those skills to weave in today's world. So we are going to weave. So e te minita tēnā koe mo te rakupu te pukinga. It leaves the door wide open, so it's not closed to one subject. And that's the good thing about it. No matter what institute you come from around the country, they might have different pukinga in that field. But between us, we can share our knowledge and our pukinga as this one waka that moves forward. Ka nui te mihi atu mo te pukinga, short, it's simple, easy to remember, and hopefully we'll get that. You shouldn't forget that, te pukinga. Lovely to have you launched a new name. I think the team have been waiting for a long time, and we can get on with the business of growing te pukinga. E te whānau ka nui te mihi atu ki a koutou I tai mai, ko whakatakoto e te minita I ngā kupu mo te pukinga, ko whakamārama e tehi whakamārama. The Minister has explained the different fibres, the different parts of the pukinga that works together, and over time we'll grow this pukinga to make it a brand for our community as we move forward in Aotearoa. That's all for me, I think, for this time. I won't make it long. Kia poto te kakao o te paipa tame. Tame, you must shorten your pipe now and again. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Dave, I'm not too sure who's... Okay, we've got more. Murray, thank you.
Chris, thank you. It's nice to have that out of the open finally. And there are a lot of people in this room that have given an enormous amount of effort in getting ready for today. So to the team from NZIST, thank you all very much as well. Now, Rowena's not here, but she's been the one who's been madly rushing around. Oh, there she is. Madly rushing around doing a video edit. So Rowena, thank you for your excellent work in getting us to this point too. Giving something a name makes it more real and it breathes even more life into it. And we're delighted to have had you make the announcement here with us this afternoon. I'd like to offer you some brief thoughts and reflections as well. For most of us, the 1st of April seems like a heck of a long time ago, and much has happened in between times. From a Te Pukinga perspective, there are some key things that I'd just like to share with you. Stephen Town, our inaugural Chief Executive, started with us in early July, and Stephen is now in the process of creating an excellent executive and management team around him. We're working very, very hard at the moment to ensure that Māori staff and students have considerable input into Te Pukinga's high-level decision-making, and that is underway now with the establishment of 3 national advisory committees, and a member from each one of those groups will be joining Te Pukinga's National Council in due course. Te Pukinga's senior Māori executive from right across Aotearoa have been working with Will Workman, our senior Māori advisor, to draft Te Pai Tawhiti, which is our Te Tiriti o Waitangi Excellence Framework, and it has been shared across our network, and people are starting to understand the unbending and unrelenting focus that we are going to have as an institution on equity for Māori learners. Our visits and face-to-face communications continue around the country with staff and students, and Stephen and I are halfway through. Stephen's only doing his first tour of duty. This is my 4th since the 1st of September last year. But it's always great to be able to be in the room and listen and talk to people about what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're excited about, what they're concerned about, but also their enthusiasm for making some fundamental change in our sector. Our national engagement program, Ākonga at the Centre, looking at learner barriers and enablers, is also underway, and the outcomes of that work will help us shape Te Pukinga's future operating model, and our findings will be shared right across government in terms of the agencies to make sure that we're all working off valid, sensible and useful information. We continue to work as one part of the entire reform process within the broader Rove team. And again, just to acknowledge the TEC who are with us today, who are taking a significant leadership role in that. And we're beginning our early engagement with industry training organisation leaders to ensure that the on-job elements of vocational education and training, along with on-campus and online delivery, are fully integrated to provide the best outcomes for learners and employers. So building a new regionally sustainable national network of provision is an opportunity that doesn't present itself terribly often, especially one of this scale. And whilst Chris referred to it as the single largest tertiary provider in the country, when you think about it in global terms, it's actually quite staggering. This will be the 35th largest tertiary institution on the planet. And we have the responsibility for caring and developing around 240,000 learners, with a whānau and staff of around 10,500 to 11,500 people, many of whom are joining us today online. So that responsibility weighs heavily, and with it comes excitement, occasional sleepless nights, but with an excellent team that Stephen is putting together, I know that we are going to be successful. So the creation of something new and of the scale of Te Pūkenga, with the enabling instruments that we have from a legislative perspective, our charter and our letter of expectation from Chris, has allowed the NZIST Te Pūkenga Council to very carefully consider where its focus and its arc of influence is best applied. For us, that is establishing a new institute that has ākonga at the centre and an unrelenting focus on achieving equity for Māori learners. And that will stand Te Pūkenga apart. And it is what will unify us as a single national provider of vocational education and training, and it's our challenge and our opportunity. But we know that we won't achieve success without real, meaningful partnership and strong, trusted relationships in order to connect more people into education. Te Pūkenga will support business and employers by providing them with the skilled staff and team members that they need to support their businesses in the COVID-19 recovery. And as their business and operating models change, and as the economic foundation of New Zealand resets, a nimble, lean and practical vocational education and training offering must play a significant role in our country's economic and social recovery. And we will continue to work closely with the various arms of government to support the wider vocational education reform process, so that our vocational education and training system will provide pathways to employment that are designed to keep pace with the changing needs of industry. Now, Chris, I'm not sure if you remember, we had a conversation probably about 14 or 15 months ago, and I described my view of the reform as being captured in 5 words: equity, quality, consistency, accessibility and mobility for learners throughout their journey. Hei hara takatoa I takaahi, e nāre hi taua takatini. Mi mahi tātou me te oranga o te katoa. Success is not the work of one, but the work of many, and we must all work together for the well-being of all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. It now gives me a great pleasure to introduce Pam Roa to you from Longveld. Pam, welcome to the stage, and it's nice to have you with us this afternoon.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi nui kia koutou, honoured guests and friends and whānau from around the Waikato in the audience. It's lovely to see you all. Vocational education is the lifeblood of industry and community. 240,000 learners currently, roughly, are gaining skills that they expect will lead to employment, and thousands of employers like me rely on vocational education to help deliver highly skilled, work-ready team members. So getting it right between the two is vitally important, and that's why I believe the review of vocational education has been and continues to be so important. I'm going to have a little bit of tell you a little bit of my own personal experience of vocational education. As a 6-year-old back in the early 70s, my dad did a New Zealand certificate in engineering, at night school through the Polytech system in what was the original Polytech here on site, while he worked a day job as a draftsman. And that was part of his aspiration to create a better life for his whānau. And obviously I didn't have an awareness of where he was going during the day or him coming to class, but I just saw him studying at the kitchen table while he worked as a wine waiter as well. I don't know how he did it all, but I have vivid memories of that time. I do remember being allowed to come here to the Polytech swimming pool. That was quite the social occasion back in those days on a hot summer weekend. And yeah, it got filled in, didn't it, David, one day? And I came looking for it when I joined council here at Wintec. Couldn't find the swimming pool anywhere. Where's the swimming pool gone? But it's a great memory. I had my own experience of upskilling with night classes in physics here to help me transition from science into engineering. And also my youngest daughter has been over in Tairāwhiti. She trained as a shepherd. She's been working with through Eastern Institute of Technology to do her own vocational education and upskilling. Now I'm immersed in vocational education through my 30 years with Longveld, first as a co-founder and more recently as managing director. Longveld's a trade business. We're stainless steel fabricators specialising in the food and beverage industry with a particular focus on dairy, which is not uncommon in this region. So we employ many welders, polishers, fabricators, engineers. We have 68 on our team, and all of us, including myself, are currently enrolled in vocational training. A lot of that on site at work as we learn, and others through Wintec and ITOs. So 10% of my team's in apprenticeship training. That usually sits around 8 to 10% at any one time. And the rest of us right now are completing a level 3 or level 4 certificate in continuous improvement qualification as part of our innovation journey. So I believe the reform now underway will provide an improved system that benefits employers, learners and educators. And I'm really excited about helping it to succeed. I think it's important that employers get in behind it. So both as an employer and as a current member of our Waikato Interim Regional Skills Leadership Group representing manufacturing, engineering and logistics. So like many across our region, I'm delighted that Te Pūkenga is headquartered here in the Waikato. And the Longveld team look forward to doing our part to make this a roaring success. So congratulations to Murray, Stephen and your team. Waikato Business is on this journey with you. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora Pam, kānui te mihi atu ki a koe mō kōrero I whakatakoto I mua I te aroaro. Great to hear your story and your start and some of those former days, Pam, and also the beautiful work that the students, or your company allowed our students to do when they made Toia Mai, which is now down by the Waikato River as one of the icons down there. It's a new, innovative way of showing artwork, I guess. It's a canoe down there made out of a steel, a rustic sort of effect, and when you walk past it at certain times or in darkness, it'll trigger off sounds of the money. It'll trigger off sound, so it's a technology that is different, and it was great that our students can be part of that. Pam and your company, of course, helped. The lighting effect to remember Matariki, the sound effect for the birds of New Zealand, and plus the creative welding side as well. So a lot of skills went into creating that piece. And I see more of that type is starting to pop up around New Zealand now. They're saying, hey, we can save our native trees, the kauri and tōtara. We can do the same, but with different materials. And that's what pukenga allows. You've got to do the same, but use your pukenga in a different way. Thank you very much. And I might just whakapai a little bit of something to eat for you, because I know Murray's going to come up and invite you to have something. But I just want to thank the Minister, thank the team, and thank also the whānau that are here today from Pacifica as well. Rachel, I can see you down the back there, some of the good old friends down there, and I know Manu, you're hiding there at the back there too. Good to see your faces. Everyone that's here, a lovely time to be here. Nō reira huri no. Tēnā koutou e te atua whakapaingi a ngā kai. Hei oranga mō mātou tīnana, whāngai hoki tō mātou wairua ki te taro o te ora koehi kuraiti tō mātou ariki. Āmini. My singer's got something for me.
E tū tātou ki te waiata, tūtira mai ngā.
Nā e we, tātou tātou e. Tūtira mai nā e we, tātou tātou e. Tēnā koutou te pukinga.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that blessing from Tame, afternoon tea is served. The Minister will be here for another few minutes before he departs for his road trip to Rotorua. So I'd encourage you to say hello to him and have a chat to him and obviously talk amongst yourselves. Thank you for your attendance today and best wishes all. Thank you.